Hi, good morning, everyone. It's really great to see everyone here and also people online. I'd like to start by acknowledging country. We are on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people here today, and we also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the unceded lands and waterways on all the places where Deakin University does business and education and research, and all the places where you might be watching us from today. And we pay our deep respect to the ancestors and elders of Wadawurrung, Gudij, Mara, Wurundjeri and Bunurong country. So I am Professor Emma Koval. I'm currently the co-convener of the Science and Society Network, and we are so excited to get things started for SSN 2026. So you will be here because you're interested in our incubator grants and or the stream leader roles. And we'll talk about both of those things today. So we're going to be telling you a bit about what is the Science and Society Network. You may know all about us. You may not have had a huge amount to do with the SSN before. So thank you very much and welcome, because we're really very always excited to when new people find us. We're going to talk about the process of applying for a incubator grant that are currently open and close at the end of January. And we'll also talk about the roles for stream leaders that we're currently looking for to kind of bring new leadership into the Science and Society Network. And those are actually the expressions of interest, which are very brief, are due on next Wednesday, the 12th. So if you are interested in that, you do need to get onto that quite quickly. So if for those online, you've got the opportunity to use the chat to communicate with us during the talks. We've got Karina Trades here, our coordinator, and Vicky Huang, our co-convener, and we'll all be keeping an eye on the Zoom chat. So please, you can pop in right now your name and the area of research. And for people in the room, we'll do that in person when we get to that point. But if you're online, please do pop in questions into the chat as we go, if you like, and we'll do our best to answer them. And there'll also be a whole lot of time for questions and discussion. And we do, once we get to the question time, we do really want to hear from you about the projects that you're thinking of doing. You'll see that we really are encouraging people. The main point of this round of the incubator grants is to get people to work across faculties. And if you have a great idea, but maybe you haven't found that perfect collaborator in a different faculty, or maybe you have got some collaborators, but you need some different expertise, please come up. I think we'll ask people to come up here so that people online can see them. I'll be able to hear. Right, yep. So, yeah, you can come up here or you can just speak from the floor, but we'd really love to hear just very briefly who you are and what project you're hoping to do. And also if people have any questions about the SSN or about the stream leader roles or the grants. Fantastic. So we can get right on with what is SSN. So it's a network that supports science, literate social research and socially engaged science that makes an impact. So it came out of my observations back in 2017 that working across disciplines is so important, and it's definitely been part of my DNA, part of what I've done since the start. I've did a medical degree and an arts degree at the same time, and I've always just combined science with social science. And for me, like doing those together is like the only way I personally think you can get the kind of knowledge that I'm interested in creating as a researcher. And it's not for everyone, and you don't have to do it, but it does coincide with a lot of innovation, a lot of like new projects that maybe no one's thought of before, and in this environment where we are really having to focus on research that makes an impact, research that meets the national science and research priorities, working across disciplines is both a really good way to do that, but also often necessary to do that. And people who do work across disciplines often are, kind of the go-getters who want to do something a little bit different. So the Science and Society Network was created to support those people because we are, as you know, in universities, we're kind of organised into disciplines and faculties, which is really important, particularly for students who want to know what they're signing up for to learn and to actually learn a set of skills and a set of knowledges. But for researchers, we do, I think, for some of us, we really want to reach across those silos. So the network helps people do that. We, this year, we analysed, had a look back at our 6 years of seed funding and what had come out of it. And with just fairly small amount of seed funding, we've had a return on investment of over 8 times. So that was incredibly exciting. And a lot of that is because, not every project does lead to external funds, but some of them do, and some of them are just, we help seed the start of something huge and exciting for that researcher. So hopefully all of you can be that person in a few years who's received a SSN grant to get a new idea going, and it's turned into something really amazing. Okay, and we'll talk about the areas that we really focus on in terms of working across disciplines and across faculties. And we focus on early to mid-career researchers, and we really love to have as much HDR, or now we call them graduate researchers, involvement as we can as well. Okay, so here's the current team, and next year we are, and so yeah, Radhika is not here, she's overseas, but the other 3 of us are here. So next year we, so you may be aware, I won't kind of labour the point, but we've had a shift in the way that research is funded at Deakin. Are people kind of aware of that? Yeah, kind of, yes. Yes, it is, and it's still kind of happening and having like after effects coming down through the different faculties. But we have been funded previously directly from the DVCR on a kind of year-by-year basis. And as you know, the funding is now with the faculties, or the internal research funding essentially. So we've gone around to each of the faculties and kind of made the case why the SSN is something is important to support, and what your faculty gets out of it or might get out of it. And yeah, we've been really, really excited that all of the faculties are on board. So we've got the SSN board. Mrs. You can't see my cursor. Anyway, so the board is each of the ADRs. So each of the associate deans for research from each faculty are basically the, they're the ones that are deciding who is funded, who the stream leaders are, which is really great because each faculty is so fully engaged in making those decisions. So, and then the leadership team, which we for next year we have in place, is that I'll stay on as co-convener or as convener for next year, but we are really looking for deputy conveners, which we will draw from the people that apply for stream leaders, because we are looking for people to take leadership of SSN moving forward. So we are looking to recruit 2 stream leaders per faculty. And so you'll see on the expression of interest, we want to know which faculty you're aligned to. People within A squared, I squared. Also, we really like to have them involved as well, and they're not within a faculty, but they can also apply. And we want to know which of these are the national science and research priorities. So in the past, we've had SSN streams, which are not, they're fairly consistent. They're not inconsistent with the current national research and science and research priorities, but we are directly going to be adopting these 5 priorities. But I am certain that everyone's research does fit in there. And if you don't think it does, come and talk to me, because I'm sure I can show you that it does. Okay, so should I need to go a little bit more quickly? No, it's okay. Good. So I talked at the start about why I think interdisciplinary research is important. And it's not just me. It is within our university guiding plan. So the current Deakin Research and Innovation Guiding Plan specifically talks about the need to transcend boundaries and work across disciplines. If we look at the ARC, the Australian Research Council, their current discussion paper also talks about the need to move across disciplines and support interdisciplinary teams. And I think on the NHMRC and MRFF side, I think it's already been very interdisciplinary for quite a long time. And that ability to show impact, to show that your research will plausibly actually create an impact in the world, you often need to be working across disciplines to really have that kind of whole chain from discovery to impact. So SSN can help you to do that. We don't just kind of give out money and say, see you later, have fun with that. We do provide a supportive research environment. So we have a series of events during the year, which we love to see you at. Hopefully people might have been to some of our seminars before, either in person or online. We run interdisciplinary seminars on all sorts of topics. And so this screenshot is from our YouTube site, the Science and Society Network, where you'll see a library of hundreds of really exciting of very exciting recordings of seminars. And please, and again, I challenge you to find nothing that interests you. There'll be something there that is relevant to your research. And what we do there also, we always bring in 2 discussants. So a discussant is someone that offers comments and questions for 5 or so minutes after your talk, and then that leads into general discussion. And we always have 2 discussants, one from the sciences and one from the social sciences and humanities. And that way, we're really constantly showing that bringing different people's perspectives together, people from different knowledge traditions, different backgrounds, can really enrich your perspective, and can just, whether you're from the sciences or from the social sciences and humanities, having that additional perspective is just like so valuable, priceless. We also have a flagship event every year, Emerging Issues in Science and Society. So back in July, we had, along the theme this year of like looking back and trying to kind of take stock of what has been the value of SSN. We had some of our successful previous grant holders who've gone on to do really amazing projects present a TEDx style talk, and that you'll see that all on our YouTube site. So yeah, I really encourage you to have a look there as well. And also on our website. Yeah, so it's linked on the page of our website. And it was called Doing Interdisciplinarity. That was the title of July's event, and we had the Pro Vice Chancellor for Research, David Endicott, and we had the ARC Chief Research Officer, Christina Toomey, as well. So it was a really great, both broad and deep exploration of what interdisciplinary research and engaged research can do. We also run workshops and symposiums. So, and that is part of the role of the stream leader, is to just be aware of some great talks that we could have. Maybe there's a international speaker who's going to be in Australia. We have the ability to, say, bring someone interstate and put them up for a couple of nights to do an SSN seminar. So whether or not you're do get a grant or become a stream leader, we're always really very keen to hear from people who say, hey, there's this great person, I'd love to get them to do a seminar. I think it would fit with what the SSN is interested in. We'd love to support those. And also workshops. So we've had people that come to do seminars. We also do like masterclasses for early career researchers or for graduate researchers for our PhD students. Symposiums. We're supporting one of the last things we've got for the year in November is a symposium on Indigenous knowledge and natural history collections by one of our organised by one of our stream leaders, Professor Gay Sculthorpe, which is super exciting. And also coming up, we've got a visiting PhD student from India, from the Institute for IIT, the Indian Institute of Technology in Hyderabad, who's here for a month and is giving a seminar just in a couple of weeks, or next week. No, on the 17th. Yep. It's about mutual aid during COVID. Anushree left it online. Oh, Anushree, hello. Okay, well, maybe she can tell us a bit later about it. So, that's another thing that we can do and we support. And we also have a monthly newsletter. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, please just go to our website right now and sign up, because you'll hear about a lot of opportunities and events going on there. And then finally, so there's a field, an interdisciplinary field called Science and Technology Studies, it's within the humanities and social sciences. So it's humanities and social science scholars who study science to try and understand how science shapes society and how society shapes science. So not everything, like many people involved in SSN are interested in this field of scholarship. Not everyone, but we do support the Australasian Science and Technology Studies Network. We had a brilliant conference here in July as well that Karina was a organised it basically, which was really amazing. Some of our events are kind of to support that area of research as well. So that's like an overview of the kinds of things that we do at SSN. We've had really amazing stream leaders and co-conveners since 2019, when we kind of got ourselves organised from every faculty. So we can let you know if you want to know more from people who've been very involved in. There's people from across the university who you can talk to as well. So I will hand over to Vicky Huang to talk about being involved.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone. Just before I get talking about this slide, I was just thinking about all of our friends online, and people are researching in areas like housing, nanoparticles, social media, robotics. We've had speakers and events on all of those topics throughout the year. You can see them on YouTube. We even had Stellark come, and the guy who put an ear in his arm and give a talk. So if anything, please subscribe to our newsletter so that you can stay in touch with these kinds of events. And also, Emma mentioned, as a grant recipient, but also as a general scholar, we provide you a really safe environment to present your work, to do a TEDx talk, to do a YouTube video. And when you get to sort of the pointy end where you're applying for these government grants, one of the big things you have to tick is, has your research got community impact? And you need to evidence these things. And that can be really hard if all you've done is like an internal workshop. But we will help you tick that box, get you a YouTube video, get you a TEDx talk. So we really do try to help MCARs get to a goal of getting a government grant, okay? As well as Emma said, the meta benefits of doing interdisciplinary work from a practical perspective. At the end of the day, we want to help you get money in the door. So just by way of background, my name is Vicky. I'm from the law school. And back in 2019, I was a level B. I had a 90% teaching load. I was absolutely dying. I had great research ideas, zero research output. I thought if I could get a grant that I could change things around. I applied twice to my faculty, rejected, and then I saw this email about the SSN, so I came to an event like this. And I couldn't believe how easy it was to apply for the grant. Like, you didn't even have to get the dean's sign off. The hardest part was probably finding a collaborator. Again, I pitched my idea in a group like this, approached a few people, rejected, but that's okay. I eventually found a partner and the SSN team supported me. And I got a grant and I became part of this really amazing community. And I couldn't believe that there were basically no strings attached either to the grant. I know with some other grants, you've got to do weekly check-ins. With an SSN grant, you do induction day where you get to meet the other grantees and you get to present your project, which is quite good because it forces you to get your ducks in a row. And if you've got to do an ethics application, that's the time when we start sort of trying to help you. And then there is a mid-year checkpoint where you do another work in progress presentation, which again, I thought was really useful in terms of making you stick to time. But that's it. They're the only strings attached, which I thought was pretty amazing. So my project was actually really successful. I was really happy about it. I didn't end up getting a DECRA in the end though, which was a bit sad, but SSN helped me, but there was no negative blowback from not getting one. Then the SSN invited me to join the leadership group. And for those of you who are here and who are interested in being a stream leader, and you're thinking, well, why would I bother? From a cynical perspective, if you are looking to get more profile across the university because you may be seeking a promotion, I think it's a great vehicle because if you do go for a promotion, what you'll notice is you'll have people usually from your faculty, but there'll always be someone from outside the faculty. And you want to have a fairly good reputation across the university because you don't know what faculty that person is coming from. But genuinely, I have really enjoyed meeting people from other schools and other faculties. I've really enjoyed going to presentations that have nothing to do with my research area, because no matter what, you pick up some interesting methodology, some interesting way of thinking about something new. So that was fantastic. And in the leadership role, I also got to help other EMCRs, which I love doing because I know what it's like to be in the weeds as a level B, thinking that there is no way I can ever escape this sort of teaching tunnel that I'm in, or I want to be doing what I'm doing. So helping MCARs is another fantastic benefit of being part of the SSN leadership team. And this year, I got asked to join someone else's grant, and I've really enjoyed that, being sort of a mentor to other level Bs who are coming through at Deakin. Also, again, from a bit more of a utilitarian perspective, I'm from the law school, from the humanities. As a matter of survival, I think if you're a humanities scholar and you do not jump on the STEM bandwagon, I think we will be left behind. So I think encouraging humanities people to speak to STEM people is really the way forward, as Emma said, for innovation, better ideas, but I think as well in terms of grant funding and survival, I think research survival. But anyway, lovely to see so many people here and online. If you've got any questions, I'm really happy to chat afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thanks, okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Karina Traits. I'm a coordinator of the SSN. I've been involved for about 4 years. And yeah, just really excited for a fabulous 2026. I think most of you are here to know what it's like to apply for an SSN grant. Some of you might be here for both positions, so you're welcome to apply to be a stream leader and to get a grant. You can do both of those things. In fact, that's how many stream leaders get on board, but you can definitely do both. And lots of stream leaders end up as co-CIs on other grants. So I mean, I'm sure maybe you've looked at the guidelines already. It always amazes me how few people look at the guidelines before they start like designing a whole project. It's just 2 or 3 pages. It really pays to read through it carefully. So just to draw your attention on this slide, we're really prioritizing cross-faculty. We really care about cross-faculty collaboration. So sometimes it's hard to find someone within Deakin. We encourage you to find an expert. If you can't find someone at Deakin that you want to work with, don't throw your application away. There's lots of other collaborations that count with industry, with partners, with community. You know that this is a grant about social impact. So that really matters. And also just to also say it's one or more of the following aspects. So if you do not have a very obvious HAS-STEM crossover, don't panic. We know that some people don't imagine themselves particularly as very HAS or very STEM. There's disciplines that are like, sometimes psychologists are like, where do I fit in this? We'll be looking at your application saying, how interdisciplinary is it? And sometimes that means looking at method, it looks at approaches to the problem. It's making sure that you're applying for an interdisciplinary grant because you can't get this kind of funding elsewhere within your own faculty. And we're really trying to see the interdisciplinary strength of your project when we apply. So really partnerships, we really want to encourage people to work with industry. That includes government tenders. And we've had SSN grant holders like Rangam Rajkoa, who's a material scientist at the IFM, who developed a pigment from recycled clothing and then worked with indigenous artists to create these like fabulous textiles, and that ended up being sponsored by industry. So like Billabong or Ripcall or whoever came involved. So like don't be scared of industry if you're not involved in that space. You'll be really surprised how much industry can take a part, and we really want to encourage folks to think about industry. You're also really welcome to partner with international organizations, and remember that Deakin is internationalizing. So we really have increasing opportunities to work with scholars and colleagues in Indonesia and India. We have co-tutels with various universities. So it's worthwhile thinking where there are already existing pathways. If someone's got an amazing lab that does a specific kind of work that you need to work with, by all means, bring them in. And once again, one or more of the following for project activities. So the most important thing, obviously, we want external grant success. So we're going to be asking whether or not this is going to lead somewhere. We want to see that you have a vision for where this is going. And we want to know that it's going to build your career. And we've said new interdisciplinary research projects. I know that there are some folks who are building on previous projects, and that's also okay. So we do ask in the application form if you have done any preliminary work, but we expect the SSN stage of your grant to really be bringing in a very new aspect or a new team member or enhancing that in a particular way. So prior work is a good thing, but we want to see how you're extending it in an interdisciplinary way. So eligibility for the grant, the lead CI, you need to be an EMCR, so that's 15 years post-PhD. And we do look that up quite strictly. Not a level E, that's important. You need to be a Deakin employee for the duration of the project. And this is important. This is one thing that's changed. So you'll see we often refer, say, look at other videos, look at things in the past. In the past, we haven't allowed folks to reapply to be a grant holder. This year you can, but you need to be up to date on your reporting. And of course, we're going to be asking if you did have outcomes from your previous grant. So your partner or your team members can be anyone. And we really encourage you at this point to use the opportunity to find experts at Deakin. If you're an ECR, especially if you're just starting out, find the good people at Deakin, use that, find an expert, or talk to us, and hopefully our soon to be appointed amazing stream leaders to find experts in your field. Everyone on the team doesn't have to contribute equally. So if you need to have some experts who are going to come in 3 times a year to advise, you can name them on your project. Obviously, you don't add people don't just paste names on. We do ask in the form what the contribution is that each person is going to be making. So we want to see that this is an informed and carefully considered approach. And like I said, again, academy, so different universities, industry, and also community partners are really important. So for example, Tiffany Shellham, she worked with, I think, like 4 Indigenous elders and a fishery museum in Western Australia and did a really fabulous project on fishery science. So actually the application form allows you to have up to 10 people. And I would say that's probably the upper limit, because we also know, and this is the thing you should think about, is that interdisciplinary work is difficult and wrangling a team is difficult. So don't get too excited and add too many people that you're never going to be able to get around the table at the same time. This is really one of the challenges of working in a team. It's coordination, it's time management. Sometimes you're working with people you don't know well. So you're allowed up to 10 because we don't want to shutter you in any way. We want you to fly, but consider it carefully. Okay. Then we often get this question, how interdisciplinary do we need to be? What does this actually look like? And this definition of interdisciplinarity comes straight basically from the ARC website. And of course, what we're trying to do is we're really trying to respond to the national research priorities and impetus. So it can be researchers, different disciplines, working together in a team, which is probably the most common, bringing different perspectives to solve a problem. And just remember that the problem is quite important. So you do have to sort of state what your problem is in the application form, and you want to see that that's well articulated and considered. And it's something that you are addressing. We're not expecting you to solve the problem necessarily in 1 year, but think about what that means. Utilizing different methods. And this is something that I know Vicky has a lot of experience with. And we really often see people who are trying to get data. You need to understand something. You often really have to work with someone else. You don't have the time to learn that set of skills. You work in a team with different people. And then translating innovative blue sky research from one discipline into an entirely different area of research or a different discipline can also be really exciting. And I think that's less conventionally. People think about that less often, but it's also very much part of the criteria. So we've included some examples here, like what could an interdisciplinary project be? So maybe it's about asking new questions of an existing issue. So for example, procuring materials science, like how we do this ethically. We've had folks working on, like, especially during COVID, like new technologies. Everyone was like ready to design a new way to, figure out who's contagious. And then really important for that team to work with ethicists and social scientists to say, like, how do we ethically engage in this? Address an emerging issue would be like technology-mediated family violence and the security services industry. How do we think those things together? You can imagine that really needs an interdisciplinary team. Social scientists who have projects with social implications, who work requires more than their expertise. So the question might be, can remote communities use plant-based materials to remove heavy metals from water? And we know that those remote communities, often in sensitive communities, you need to be thinking about the history and the context. You need social scientists there who are thinking about those processes. And then we know that we'd need some experts to really, design the research on the heavy metal stuff. And this is Mia Martin Hobbs asked a project about, her project is imagining, like, can we map the impacts of climate change on war and refugee experiences? So she's a historian who's working with a group of really expert geographers and map makers to map the impacts of climate change on war and refugee experiences in the Middle East. Or you might have, something's missing here. You might have expertise in a scientific or technological issue, but want to think about that in terms of policy implications, which is another, these are just some examples. And sometimes it's hard. And if you need some help imagining how your project is interdisciplinary or could be more interdisciplinary, we invite you to have a conversation. If it's not immediately obvious for you how to explain that, you should be like, oh, what am I doing? Where are we going here? All right, these are the tips. Okay, read the rules. I need you to just look them up before you begin, because it's nothing more dispiriting, right, than like going through the whole list and then realizing you're not eligible or you can't use the funding for what you thought. And also look up the form before you begin, because it will also calm you down. The form is really relaxed. It's just like short paragraph. If you print that form out, it's 3 pages, your application. The thing that takes the longest is putting your team together. And that's important. This year it's quite unusual because of the funding. We have until the end of January to put that team together. So you have time to build some relationships, think about those different aspects, and who will cover them. And it's really good to have those relationships in your form. But if, for example, you have put together a team of 3, but you know that you still need, you don't have to have your RA, for example, named. Or you might say, we need 1 expert in this. So show us in your application that you've really put together the team and thought about who is contributing what they're bringing. But if you have maybe 1 or 2 people that you still need to find, or you've identified the research institute, but they haven't said yes, because of course, sometimes it's hard to ask someone to be in your project, but you don't have funding yet. You can name who they are and that you want to approach them. But so we can understand that that's where you're going, but maybe you need the funding confirmed before that's confirmed. And I really recommend visiting our website, like Emma said. And here's another, I just wanted to draw your attention to this video, which is a workshop that Emma and one of our stream leaders, Toya Sinke, did last year or this year on making interdisciplinarity work for you. So that's another great seminar, which for this project or other projects is about how you, because sometimes it's hard with interdisciplinarity to fit your funding or your project into broader funding models. That's really changing, and that's what we're part of. But sometimes it's figuring out how to pitch your research to a broader community. And you can start doing that immediately, apply for this grant and apply for other interdisciplinary grants at the same time, by all means. So that's a really useful video that I recommend. And if you watch those TEDx talks, you will really see the breadth of combinations of teams and researchers. And it's also amazing because you see that they lead CIs. So if you're the lead CI of the project, you really are the leader of the project, and you're bringing people together, but you can also choose to work in a partnership. So some people have worked really together on their projects. So maybe as a team of 2 who are doing the main thinking, and then have a few team members who support them at different times. But in most cases, there's one EMCR who's the leader, and they gather their team around them. Consider how long your ethics will take. Remember that we also assess your project based on feasibility. So obviously, if you've dreamt way too far out the box and promised lots of things that we all know you can't manage, we do know that interdisciplinary work takes long. So we don't expect all your outcomes to happen within the first year. But we expect you to spend your budget within the first year, which is tricky because next year is a bit of a shorter year. So you kind of have to be ready to be rolling. But we know that papers don't get written overnight, and that those further grant applications are going to come, in the years to follow. And we do check up. So you will apply, you will have your induction and your work in progress, and then we do just check in at the end of the year, which is also a really simple survey on what's happened, what have you achieved, where you're going next. And we follow up with our alumni, because often interdisciplinary research takes a bit longer to incubate into bigger projects, mostly because it can just be more time consuming. Yeah, only ask for the money you can use. You have up to 12,500, but don't ask for the full 12,500 if you're not going to use all of it. You don't have to. So if you only need $6,000 for a workshop and some materials, remember materials, you can only get materials that you can't get at Deakin. So you can't buy a new computer if Deakin already gives you a computer, you know, like there are some limitations to those assets. Conference funding is one other thing that has changed. In the past, we haven't funded conferences. What we are doing now is we're saying you can use some funding for conferences, but we want to know that there really is a purpose to that conference. So if you are a researcher in the social sciences, for example, and you are working with a data scientist or someone in IT, and there's a conference that's happening on AI and this, and you need to go to that conference to learn everything you can as an outsider, that's a good use of funding. Or maybe you need to send your HDR to that conference or your research assistant. Remember that we do really want to encourage, we do want to start like building our own timber of interdisciplinary HDRs. And like a science and technology studies conference, for example, which is a very interdisciplinary conference, is something that we would consider, but it's really often not the best use. The funding is really for doing the research. So RAs are really encouraged. Just really think about using the money wisely. And that is that for my tips. Applications close at the end of January, and we'll be around until then. And hopefully we'll have some stream leaders soon to help us. And that is the end of that. We do have some time for questions, and we're here for discussion. And this room, I mean, we have like 35 minutes now for discussion, but this room is booked until 12. So you can always talk to Emma, Vicky, and myself afterwards. One of us will be on Zoom, two of us will be in the room. So we'll be around for more chats. And just before we hand it over to the grant holders, I just wanted to check if there were any stream leaders, potential stream leaders who had a question online or in the room. None, because we were so clear. Oh, yep. We ask what your interdisciplinary experience is. Of course, it's helpful to have as much as you can. Having been on a grant is useful. But, you know, sometimes someone who's really, really excited and cares and they work, especially remember that your work has to be engaged in that stream. We are not expecting, you know, I think we're quite open to seeing how you respond to the form, what your level of availability and engagement is, because of course the stream leader role has multiple aspects to it. Part of that is mentoring grant holders, but there's a whole team of people who do that. So you don't have to feel that you yourself have to be an interdisciplinary expert. We've had stream leaders who have been experts maybe in their theme, in their stream, more than in doing research themselves. And there's a whole bunch of us with a range of experience. So really what the SSN team does is like, we're a really good team of people who we're like good at delegating who can help you with what. So we will share those roles within the team. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, I think I just really cared.
Yeah.
But I had no.
Yeah, but had done a grant and was a really engaged member of the community. So like for us, it was really obvious to have Vicky on board because came to events, was willing to talk, kept talking about what the grant did, you know, like, yeah, it made sense. So. Yeah. Yeah.
You're a leader. No, you're a leader. And it's a very low opportunity cost.
Yeah, great. Well, I think what we should do now is we should just go around the room and we don't have.
Yeah, I've just typed it in.
Oh, yeah.
Can we grab the
Yes, great idea. Yes, Ashan. Usually the room speaker. Oh, yeah. This is just one question and then.
In the collaborator least I see that you mentioned about industry experts as well. So generally, my understanding is when I engage with the industry, so we are of the same expertise level what we are doing. But in terms of interdisciplinary, how I was wondering how it looked like.
Yeah.
A little bit tricky how I consider the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on the outputs, like what's going to happen by you, like what's your project goal? So it's like, are you doing something with industry that you couldn't do yourself? Then that's worthwhile because what do they have resources or they have scope to implement your project or to make ideas practical? Or are you saying like, what's the difference between just you and someone in industry applying? Do you know what I mean? So I think you have to show how it's useful for the project or contributes. But it doesn't matter if you're at the same level of expertise as long as they're bringing something to the project that you can't bring, which is probably an audience, product development, I don't know, assets, resources. Does Emma, do you want to pitch in? Vicky, did you want to say? No. Okay, I think what we'll do for the introductions, Emma, if you'll be the roving mic, we'll go around. We're just going to really challenge everyone to just introduce themselves and briefly say what their project is about and try to keep it to 1 minute. And then we'll have questions and discussion afterwards. And what we're hoping is that there'll just be lots of like, me, hi. Zoom folks have already introduced themselves online, but I'm sure you won't mind introducing yourselves to our room. Vicky.
Question from Deepti
Yeah.
Agrawal online. Deepti, do you?
Hi, sorry, I've been asking a couple of questions and Emma was very kind to answer all of them. I just wanted to clarify one question. If we are working with childcare centers as partners, do they need to be mentioned as CI? Because I would imagine the CI are really involved in the research process, but when we are working with childcare centers, they might not really understand the research methodology and everything. So do they need to be a part of the team?
You'll see that there's a place on the form that
Okay.
says list any industry partners or research centers that you're working with. So
Okay.
there's a separate space for them on the form.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll have a look on that. So is there a doc file for the application or we just need to copy paste because it doesn't really support the print, the website?
Yeah, no, just have to look at the questions and I would recommend just typing it into a Word document
Okay.
as you go. So yeah, I could probably make one. That's a good idea. I can make one and add
Thank
it to
you.
the website. Yeah, good idea. Thanks, Deepti.
Bye-bye.
All right. Emma, do you want to
Yeah,
pick
so if there's any other, hand up on the Zoom seems like a good thing. But so we wanted just people to very briefly say who they are, and if presuming that you're here because you have a potential project, just briefly what that is, and if you're looking for collaborators in particular areas, and then but also we'll get people on Zoom to do that as well.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll go through the room and then go through the Zoom.
Okay.
And then also if you're here because you want to be a stream leader, just remember that it's always you might know someone who can help someone else, even if it's not you yourself. So we always try to share our resources and networks. Yeah.
Excellent. All right.
Hi, my name is Miranda Blake. I'm a Senior Research Fellow from the Faculty of Health. I'm a CI on an Intimacy Centre for Excellence in Healthy Food Retail initiatives. So our research is all about supporting food retail outlets to offer healthier food for customers. And we're working towards hopefully an Intimacy or MRFF grant, which will be about developing tools, like how-to tools or training tools or communication tools for retailers to help them in this process. And we're really wanting to get a better understanding from a business perspective about what kinds of research methods and also engaging interventions might be useful for retailers. So probably looking for someone from business or also perhaps from behavioural psychology as well.
Okay, great. Yeah. And so you might, if anyone here like, oh, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm going to go, I know someone to ask, please do email them and CC Miranda so we can find her.
Tari Forrester Bowling is one of our former grant holders who's done work in this area. So.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name's Gabby King. I'm a research fellow from the School of Psychology and the Faculty of Health. For my project, I really want to look at the link between climate change and children's mental health. So specifically looking at, for example, like eco-anxiety as a result of, I guess, their distress from thinking about climate change and how it can impact them and their future, and then how that may impact, I guess, other mental health outcomes or other outcomes just more broadly for children and adolescents. And I think more specifically, I'd probably do a review, so a systematic review looking at previous studies that have published similar work and then synthesizing it together. In terms of other collaborators, I'm pretty open to other disciplines. I have thought about potentially working with someone from communications, though, who could maybe help with disseminating the research out to lay persons or even just, I guess, to the government, so that it's the findings are translated out into the world. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, well, climate anxiety is a really important area of research, and we do have people in education. So have you heard of the Centre for Regenerative Futures? Yeah. So there's a kind of education researchers there at the kind of education health interface, and also in the Faculty of Health, we have the SHEN, the SHEN, Sustainable Health and Environment Network.
Yeah.
Which is kind of been more focused on like sustainable health, like reducing the climate impact of health, but I think also is really interested in the health impacts of climate.
And I would really also advise you to think about working with some social scientists and not just someone. So we don't always want like an add-on for communication, because maybe there's a part that you don't really want to do, which is like sending out your survey or publishing. So just make sure that the partners that you're bringing in are really bringing in expertise and not just the ability to disseminate something. So you will definitely find social science researchers who are really engaging with their ideas and impacts of climate anxiety. So I would look them out, as well as someone in communication. But your project will be more stronger interdisciplinarily speaking if you also engage with those researchers.
And also Mia Martin-Hobbs, who's a colleague who looks at the impact of climate change.
I don't think Mia's project would.
Yeah, maybe it's not.
Sorry.
Anyway,
yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle O'Toole. I'm a research fellow at the Centre for Resilient and Inclusive Societies. I'm interested in the increasing use of AI in government systems and how that might impact trust relationships with communities, especially multicultural communities. I'm interested in very much practical applied outcomes. So early days yet, but I'm thinking of things like training for government workers on how, what they do affects communities. And I'm interested in co-design too. Also keen to talk with anyone whose work intersects in any way with this kind of thing, even if it's just for coffee and chats. Thank you.
That giant grant holder, that group from this year who were doing the AI generated library.
Oh, the ethics. Deborah Lee Talbot.
The ones that are doing are they using AI to create?
That's the use of AI in history. Yeah.
The library project.
I don't know. Maybe look it up and then we'll get back. Yeah.
Hi, this is Ahsan Habib. I'm from School of IT, and my research is area on interpretable AI. But for this particular project, I was thinking of using these large language models to be used in solving one particular problem. For example, in questionnaire subjective assessments like in the depression scale, for example, PHQ-9, those kind of questionnaires directly ask subjects to put some severity level, 1 to 3, something like that. And this is actually common in other subjective assessments, that this may introduce some noise. So we are trying to look into the application of these language models to kind of generate some kind of narratives to engage with the subjects. Instead of asking this course, we can kind of create some conversation. And from those conversations, we can deduce the final score values. So in doing that, we have identified that there's not much case studies leveled as a conversation between the subject and psychologist, for example. So we've been looking for some collaborators in the health, for example, the psychology department, for example, that can help us these simulated conversations, how kind of they are genuine in terms of clinical values these models are generating. So I was thinking in these particular problem areas to look into.
Yes, so to train the AI psychologists who will take over, but and be able to assess the depression, the severity. It's a really great project. Thanks, Emma.
Hi, my name's Joss Bardo. My discipline area is Museum and Heritage Studies, but I have several years of experience as a repatriation practitioner, so supporting the return of First Nations ancestral remains and cultural belongings from museums globally. I'm sort of in the conceptualization stage for a DECRA project. And exploring options to do seeding projects that look at the use of anatomy collections assembled from colonial contexts for mental health research. So some of the questions that I'm interested in exploring is understanding how these collections have formed and how they've been used in medical research. But importantly, what care responsibilities or restitution needs exist for these collections, giving context, being from colonial contexts, issues of consent, the impacts of or influences on medical stigma, and considerations of patient benefit from these studies. It's part of a more broader topic I'm interested in exploring that looks at how madness has been collected and constructed across different types of collections, from art therapy, medical history, and social history collections. So I'd be interested in collaborations with researchers from medical ethics or school of psychology.
We've had some people online saying that they're psychologists interested in working in your projects, which is quite exciting. Sorry, we've had some psychologists online saying they're interested in your projects. So what I'll do is, we'll work out a way to make sure everyone gets each other's name and contact details. So voila, let's explore a relationship.
Introduce themselves.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
So thanks, Brian, and thanks, Monique.
Hi, everyone. I'm Casey Simons. I'm a lecturer of communication, sports media in the School of Communication and Creative Arts, Faculty of Arts and Ed. And I think we already have some collaborators interested in our potential project idea, which is still very early stages in formulating, but definitely open to anyone else who might be interested. We're mostly interested in the coverage of women's sport in media, and our position is looking at the legacy of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, which was positioned as this tipping point for women's sport in Australia, which really hasn't happened as much as we did have some gains made there, but it hasn't really been sustainable. We're at a really interesting time now to understand what the challenges still are with the 2026 Women's Asia Cup going to be in Australia early next year. And then we're now in the lead up to the two major mega events, which will be the Netball World Cup in 2027, which will be in Sydney, and then the next FIFA Women's World Cup, which will be in Brazil in 2027 as well. So we want to understand what that landscape looks like within the context of these mega events from a media coverage point of view, which is my skill set. We're connected with business management and sport management to understand the organizational setting and what those challenges are for the organizations to actually drive that coverage. And then looking at some health and sports scientists to understand the level of accurate reporting when it comes to experiences of women athletes and their sort of unique, I guess, experiences that are, whether it's injury, menstruation, pregnancy, trans inclusion in sport, how those issues are being reported accurately by sports journalists, and maybe some of the challenges sports journalists have to actually get that kind of insight or information from sports scientists to have more accurate and robust reporting. So that's kind of our general idea, is sort of to do that work now, and hopefully that leads to bigger projects around these mega events in 2027. So if anyone's interested in sport or women's sport media, definitely reach out.
Can I just quickly jump in on that one while you're walking? Just to say, you've just got to make sure you're taking care to include people in the project and to show how that's interdisciplinary, and not just interviewing people or getting the inputs, from that range of people. Because it's like, because then you could just, you wouldn't need anyone else ready on your team. You'd be interviewing them. So making sure that you're clear about how you, of course. Yeah.
Organizational theory, media studies theory, and then the representation.
Great. Sounds awesome. Cool.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Claudia Escobar Vega, and I am a lecturer at the Deakin Business School.
Great.
I've been exploring how our ideas of leaders emerge. There is this theory called implicit leadership theories, which studies what people think a leader is and their expectations of behaviors and characteristics of leaders. There's a big gap in the research looking at how these ideas emerge, and they emerge in childhood. So I've been looking at what children think a leader is and how these ideas develop across the primary school years. This research showed that there are some biases and social norms already present in children as young as 5 in terms of gender and cultural diversity and their own sense of potential to be leaders. So in this stage, what the next stage in this research is to design a program in collaboration with children and the different stakeholders, such as the school leaders, parents, community leaders, and in collaboration with the children, co-design via participatory action research, a response or a solution to this issue, which is meant to be translated into an immersive program that can be delivered in primary schools. So I have already a team, and I'm working with a school, and everyone's ready. But I feel the project will benefit immensely if we bring some other disciplines into this. And I've been talking to different scholars in the School of Education. So I've already identified someone who's an expert in students' voice and this particular methodology, the participatory action research. And because studying children also takes on a high level of caution and expertise when you collect their ideas, and there's also a level of ethics. So we need some expert from media and communications to help us be able to capture those conversations in a safe way, and that the data ends up being of the level that is needed. So so that's the project that I'm hoping to develop next year, working in collaboration with education and media and communication.
Fantastic. I mean, that's another one when psychology potentially could contribute in terms of implicit leadership theories. But yeah, there's already a lot going on there, which sounds, yeah, really exciting. All right. So we can, and yeah, everyone do just reach out to people and email if you don't get a chance to directly give your 2 cents.
Yeah, and I think what I'll do is I'll write to everyone who's here, and maybe we'll do some kind of spreadsheet, or we'll think of some way to make sure, because I know people are trying to catch each other's names, and it's a bit hard to do the hybrid, but important. So we'll do the Zoom now, and I'm going to go alphabetically. So I'm going to go Akari, Alethea, sorry if I'm mispronouncing, and then Ali. So do you want to go, Akari?
Hello, sorry, can you
Hi.
hear me?
Great,
Can you
we
hear
can
me?
see and hear
Sorry.
you.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry. So I'm based at the School of Architecture and the Built Environment here on beautiful Warrawong country, and I'm working in the area of social housing, co-design social housing with especially vulnerable communities. We've worked with women who have experienced family violence in the last couple of years, and we're now embarking in children who have experienced some form of trauma. And so I say we because it's always been a we project. It's not really only myself. I work closely with the School of Psychology and scholars from there, as well as, of course, the discipline of design. And I believe that we're at the stage of a project that has crucially come to a point where we would really love to collaborate further with interdisciplinary, especially across health. And because we have psychology, but we don't actually have the other dimension of health, I believe. So the conversation is still open, and it's an ongoing project. We have quite a deep connection with community here locally here in Warrawong. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Akari. Alethea? And help me pronounce your name, please.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, you pronounced my name right first time. That's great, thank you. Yeah, so my name's Alethea Jerubine. I'm a research fellow in the Institute of Physical Activity and Nutrition, and I'm also housed within the School of Health and Social Development. So I'm already spanning the humanities and the sciences in my role at Deakin, but I'm interested in broadening out my research network at Deakin. I've been part of an SSN grant previously, which has been a really great experience, where we worked across health, education, and CB. For my project, I'm kind of, the ideas are evolving, but one thing I'd like to do is establish a cross-disciplinary outdoor play research group at Deakin and look at redefining the way we frame play within that narrow public health physical activity focus, and look at it more as a way to address more complex issues that we face in society across areas such as social cohesion and social capital, nature and environment, and climate change resilience, human rights, mental health and well-being, addressing social inequities. I could go on, there's lots. Recently, there was an international position statement on active outdoor play that was released. I was part of an international collaboration across 35 countries. And that statement positioned play not just for children, but including outdoor recreation across the lifespan, and addressed many of these areas. So I guess I'm just interested in progressing that within Deakin and building a research group within our own university. Thanks.
Great, fantastic. Thanks,
And I
Alethea.
don't have any specific call outs right now, but if anyone is interested in that, please contact me.
Great. Thank you, Ali. And we do have to, we've got 20 minutes. I think we're going to fit everyone in, but just keeping a little eye on the time. Thanks, Ali.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Zolfagarian. I'm Ersi Dekraflo in the School of Engineering. I've been working on soft robotics and 4D printings. So soft robotics, just briefly talking about, is different from conventional metallic robots. So they are better in interaction with the humans, safer, and also for handling fragile objects. They could have application in health, education, and agriculture, and even manipulation of some fragile materials. And 4D printing is like making soft robots or dynamic products using the 3D printers. So we use specific materials that are responsive and 3D printing technology to make products that changing the shape and properties. They could also have application in sports for wearable products and also for protecting gears and mattress and this sort of the things. Yeah. I hope we can find some collaborators to work on in future. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Anuradha?
Hello.
Hey.
So yeah, to introduce myself, I'm a lecturer with the School of IT, and I have been working quite a lot on the human-centric aspects of software engineering, is how we call it. I worked a lot with the vulnerable communities like vision impaired, motor impaired, those groups. And in terms of application areas, recently started working on the disaster space. So was interested in the pictures that were given from the room about climate anxiety, working with children, those aspects, as well as the lady who talked about government use of AI, those aspects. So yeah, happy to hear more. Thank you.
We love it. Great. And what I've done is I've actually, everyone in the chat who introduced themselves and wrote the bio, I've pasted it into a Word document, which I'll run outside and print for everyone in the room. So you don't have to panic if you're not catching the names. And Emma is putting the names of everyone in the room, for everyone in the chat. We are so good at hybrid. Okay, Anushri, hello.
Hi.
I don't know. Yeah, hi.
I'm here. I don't know if I can turn on my video, but yeah,
Up
maybe
to
we'll
you.
stick to the audio now for now. Yeah, so hi, I'm Anushri. Thank you for inviting me to this seminar, Karina. It was really nice to listen and listen and just know about the kind of opportunities that are available at Deakin. I'd already put down some of the things that I work on in the chat, and I'll just maybe reiterate it for now. So I'm a PhD candidate at the Department of Liberal Arts in IIT Hyderabad. I'm a visiting researcher, and Emma, Tim, and Karina have been really generously hosting me since the last few weeks, and I'm really glad to be here. What I'm sort of working on digital platforms, and my PhD research looks at COVID relief efforts that happened in Hyderabad, and I'll be talking about it more in my seminar, but I use perspectives from SDS, anthropology, platform studies, and urban studies, so it's kind of already an interdisciplinary project, and I'm really interested in sort of trying to understand how technological mediation shapes collective responses to various kinds of crises. Yeah, I'm happy to chat more about this, and yeah, really nice to hear about anyone else's research interests as well. Thank you.
Great. Anushri is the last SSN visitor. We won't be finding SSN visitors from next year, but it's really wonderful to have her here. Brian, over to you. Then Emily.
Hi, I'm from the School of Psychology. I'm a research fellow working under the SEED Clinical Mental Health Care stream. So our team's research areas broadly focus on addressing kind of families facing adversities. Currently, I'm working on a government-funded project that's looking to address work-family challenges within the healthcare workforce, to try kind of address kind of those psychological well-being and burnout and all the issues through a systemic intervention. Yeah, and I'm interested, I guess, in the application of AI in these type of systemic interventions, or in assisting kind of clinical psychology and family therapy, and and especially trying to use it to personalize and assist clinical psychologists in their work as well. I don't really have a specific project in mind right now, but these are the kind of thoughts and broad research areas that I'm interested in.
Great, thank you. Renee is saying yay in the chat, and I'm sure, I think there was someone else, right? Mental health, burnout. Thank you. All right, next. Did I miss someone? I don't see. Oh, Ayushi, sorry. Ayushi. Can we go back to Ayushi and then to Emily? Hello, we can see you. Oh, we can't hear you though. But we can see your mouth move. Maybe we'll go to Emily and then come back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Fine.
Sorry,
There's
Emily.
some technical thing going on with my computer.
Fixed.
Sorry, everyone. Hi, I am Ayushi Priya. I am an ADPRF with School of Medicine, and I work on creating new materials that help infectious wounds heal faster while
Wow.
using antibiotics more wisely. So I'm especially interested in using natural, sustainably sourced materials like seaweed residues so that we can simultaneously minimize the impact on the environmental waste. And so I use these materials to make different matrices that can trap antibiotic. And my goal is actually to find the optimal right balance where I use just enough antibiotic to fight infection while reducing the risk of antibiotic resistance in chronic infectious wounds. And also seaweed has amazing anti-inflammatory properties, so that's a plus. So yeah, I'm exploring safer, smarter ways to care for wounds. And I'm very happy to connect with people who are sharing the same interest for health, sustainability, and innovation.
Wow, thank you. All right, now we go to Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm the research fellow in the School of Psychology, and I work across a couple of different projects at the moment, and one of them is with Brian, working, exploring, supporting the health and well-being of healthcare workers, and I'm also working on another project supporting school attendance. And so one of the main areas that I just had a thought about that last night. Was about young people experiencing sensory differences. They often find many aspects of the school environment overwhelming, too loud, too chaotic, lots of different reasons. And even though they say access to safe spaces is really important for regulation, the many barriers to this access, schools might not always have provide constant access to these rooms. That might still be other barriers. So so we don't really know what does an ideal safe space look like for our students. So I'm interested in co-designing with students to identify what does an ideal sensory room or safe space look like for them, and eventually prototyping this room and even partnering with industry to create prefab modular sensory rooms, and then we can sell this room to every single school that needs a sensory room but can't build one on the campus. But that's just me thinking very big. Thank you.
Great, thinking big is awesome. I'm sure you and Michelle will have some co-design to chat about. Okay, Lauren, and then MD Asa.
Hello, thanks for this session. It's been really fantastic. My name's Lauren. I'm a DECRA within SEN's IPAN, and my focus is on kids' screen time, their health and wellbeing, specifically within the fellowship. It's looking at social skills, family functioning and wellbeing, but we've just done some really great work. We're looking to expand sort of the understanding of the impact of screen time. We've done some work with allied health, specifically OTs, and also heard from education about the impact that screen time is having within these settings. And we're really looking to pull knowledge and experience to look at digital wellbeing, children's digital wellbeing, and create a greater understanding of what that is and how it can be captured and how it can be used to foster, conversations and steps forward, interventions and strategies to help manage screen time, given the breadth of impact it's happening. So love to chat to anybody who's got similar interests. And yeah, thanks again for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. I think MDSN has left the chat. So we'll go on to Monique, Seymour, and then Niam, which I probably also am not saying right.
Hi, everyone. Excuse my croaky voice, hence being online today, but I'm Monique. I'm from the School of Psychology and SEED. I'm a clinical psychologist and research fellow, and much of my research focuses on broadly supporting child and parent mental health, but particularly in families that are experiencing adversity. So whether that's family violence and conflict, just that transition into parenthood, but also particularly neurodivergent families. So a colleague, a health economic colleague, and I are thinking about a project exploring late versus early diagnosis of a neurodevelopmental condition and how this impacts parent mental health and child mental health, and trying to think about where we can deliver interventions in that space, particularly family interventions that support not just the child, but also families, because we know that the diagnostic process can be quite daunting and a big life-changing moment for many families. But I'm just interested in general child and family mental health, really.
Sounds great. Neve, is that better?
Yes, thank you. You pronounced it correctly. Thanks for that. Thanks for the intro and the really informative session today. My background is I'm clinically an exercise physiologist, and I have worked as a senior lecturer at Deakin in the Masters of Clinical Exercise. And I'm currently a research fellow, a postdoc research fellow, as awarded the Deakin University Postdoctoral Fellowship. So my project is essentially wrapping all of those things together, and my research focuses on integrating exercise to support people who are living with chronic and complex conditions to manage their health using exercise. So, and particularly interested in populations that are underserved or vulnerable, and improving access for those people. So my current program or project is really, it involves an industry partnership with a public hospital, and this project's aiming to tackle some of the inefficiencies in the current system, which are contributing to crowding in the emergency department and overflow and extended wait times, etc. So we're aiming to redirect some of the less urgent cases or ones that would benefit from exercise on discharge to community care, essentially, looking at the follow-up of what happens to those patients and how that impacts both their health trajectory and the economic outcomes of the hospital system. I'm looking at, I guess I'm interested in anybody who wants to chat further about research involving exercise and chronic disease, also digital health technology and communication, health economics, open to all sorts of any ideas. Thank you.
Great. And I'm sure you know Yushin Zhang, who's an SSN grant holder and done some similar work. All right. Well, not similar, but maybe related. All right, Renee, hello.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully my video, yes, there it is.
Yes,
It's
we see
been
you
great
live.
listening to everyone. I am also a postdoc research fellow. I'm in the Centre for Quality and Patient Safety in the Institute for Health Transformation. Over the last couple of years, I've been working on generating evidence about the impact that sensitive topic research has on the social and emotional wellbeing of Australian researchers. And I guess I've also done some co-design with Australian researchers on building support resources in that space. But what we've realised is that there's a lack of training and education available about vicarious trauma and secondary stress and so forth within the higher education sector. So what I would be proposing to do is, again, work with academics over all disciplines to, I guess, inform what needs to be included in an educational intervention with the purpose of piloting it within Deakin before going bigger than that. It would also be supporting my DECRA application for next year, where I'm proposing that we need a measure of how to understand the impact and extent of secondary stress and vicarious trauma in the research workforce. Anyone who's interested, please contact me. I've already started sending out emails to other people here, though. There's
Great.
a lot of overlap in this room.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Renee, do you know John Molyneux?
Who?
It's John Molyneux, right? We've got an SSN grant for looking at trauma in teachers. So just go up. So if you just go on the grants page on 2024, you will see that something.
Thanks for that tip. I will.
Yeah, great.
Your project as well,
Yeah.
in terms of methodology or I'll put it.
Can you hear Vicky saying Brian's project might also be relevant?
Yes, I've already contacted Brian.
Great. I'm sure the internal
Joss, I've
chats.
sent you an email, and I've already there's a lot of people with overlap.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, hello Rory, nice to meet you. We can't hear you though.
Yes,
There we go.
sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Great. Hey, thanks everyone. Really lovely to meet you all online, and I'm already chatting and organizing meeting with some of the people here, which is great already. Hey, so I'll introduce myself quickly. So I'm associate professor and an ARC future fellow in the Faculty of Health. I love interdisciplinary science. That's what I've done basically throughout my career, working with industry, from Japan, from Europe, working across institutions, again, from Europe and Australia. And so my research is basically building nanobio interfaces that talk to cells. So a bit more specifically, I'm using nanotechnology to do cell manufacturing. So it's basically applying nanotechnology for biomedical applications. So that's the broad field. And I'm also serving as the tech ambassador for Deakin University to the Melbourne Centre for Nanofabrication. So one of my, role in this job is to bring attention to and to bring Deakin researchers to use this incredible facility, where within this facility, you really have the most cutting edge tools in terms of nanofabrication, characterization, and other things. So people will be able to get familiarized and get access to this facility. And I think that's more or less, And I haven't thought yet about the specific project.
Yeah, great. What a great opportunity, and hope people have their ears pricked, and that we'll find some people to take up those opportunities. Okay, Sayeda, I hope that's right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samira, and I'm a PhD student from midwifery and nursing faculty. I'm a midwife, and my supervisor is Dr. Widanka. She's here. And our project is about postpartum depression and anxiety in mothers who have had bariatric surgery. Because we conducted scoping review, and we realized that this is a limited research in this area, and we are interested in collaboration with someone from psychology faculty.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
sounds great. That sounds great. And I would say psychology, but there might even be there's lots of social scientists in anthropology and sociology who also work on research on maternity and postpartum. That sounds really important. Thanks.
Yeah.
Then we have Vedanka, our last speaker.
Yeah, so I'm part of the same team with Samira, so we're looking for
great.
collaborations in that. Yeah, we've got a whole program of work looking at women's pregnancy experiences and outcomes as a result of following bariatric surgery. So if anyone's interested in that, and as Samira said, we're reaching out to people from psychology, but also need collaborators from other areas to be competitive for this particular scheme as well.
Yeah, great. That sounds really fantastic. And I think that concludes. Everyone has introduced everyone. I've made a Word document, which I'll go and print for everyone in the room, which has the names of everyone online. But I think is everyone online okay with me also circulating this chat? Because this chat is just full of ideas. And I suppose some of you might not want to lose that. I see Roe's put in lots of useful things. Maybe just send me a private email if you want me to delete anything, and I'll just delete it from the chat before I circulate it to everyone who registered for this event. It's been really, really wonderful to have you all here. This is one of my favorite things, just hear all these people who have these exciting projects and are looking for things. Are there any last questions? No, we're good. That's that. Thank you. I'm going to end the meeting, and we will see you all your applications for stream leaders or grant holders very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
11:30. What? Okay. I will run to the printer. Yeah, so if anyone wants to oh my goodness. It is just so